Welcome to my weekly live stream. It's nice to see you. Thank you for being here, and please leave a comment. Today, I want to talk about the 8 limbs of yoga as a system for becoming more human, as opposed to a party trick. And the reason I named it that is because um, sometimes the different pieces of yoga get extracted from the 8 limb system and kind of used as uh, you know, some interesting ways. Some interesting ways. I'll put it that way. In some interesting ways. Like for example, like I've seen so many workshops and so many classes that are about like I'm going to teach you how to do a handstand, and it's called yoga. And so handstands are nice and they're fun, and it feels really good to be able to do a handstand. Like I get all that, and it's kind of a shame because it's a very reductive approach to a system that's supposed to make you more human. And you know, like Stephen Hawking never could do a handstand, but he was a pretty much of a human being. So there's many ways that we can be human, and party trick kind of yoga, where you're kind of extracting this really complicated asana and saying like that's yoga because now you can do a handstand. And I've been to workshops where everybody claps afterwards. It's unfortunate, really, because what it's done is it's extracted this one thing out of the system, and then the whole system kind of falls apart. I'm always kind of talking about this stuff, but I hope today I can clarify it a little bit, because I was teaching earlier today and somebody commented and said, I've never heard about the 8 limbs of yoga talked about as a system for meditation. And that is probably really common. I think oftentimes, first of all, the larger public thinks yoga is either about acrobatics or relaxation, and those are both fine. But it's a shame because it's not giving us the full tool to become human beings, which is what the 8 limbs are about. It's really about making us human, and even, what could we self-actualization. So like, what could we be as human beings? So what do you think about that? I would love to hear your opinion. And go ahead. I'm just saying hi to some folks on Instagram here, and then I'm going to keep talking a little bit more about the 8 limbs, because I think when we can sort of understand the whole system, we can sort of understand the whole like rationale behind it. It's beautiful. It's like this beautiful secret that gets unfortunately diluted in our culture. So what are the first 2 limbs? Yama and niyama. Those are ethical principles. They're universal principles that every human being has within us. I was just thinking about how Neil Young and Brene Brown and Joni Mitchell have all taken their stuff off of Spotify. And I don't want to get political here, but the point is like what they were doing was trying to act in congruence with their values. And we all have to do that. And by the way, that it could look different for different people. For other people, it's going to look like, very different than that. So, we all have to find that in our own way, but acting in congruence with your values, and then those values being in congruence with the harmony of society also makes sense too, because we're not just little islands floating around carrying our purple yoga mats. We are intimately connected to each other. And this is, not just that's like from a biological, ecological perspective, but it's also from a spiritual perspective. So you can look at it in from any of those domains. We're intimately connected. So do my actions, which are yama, are they congruent, and are they in line with my values, and are they creating a harmonious relationship with others, the yamas? And then the niyamas, am I in line with my values, right? Am I being kind to myself? Am I approaching myself with my values? And my thoughts, words, and actions are all fitting in, right? Yamas and niyamas. Why are they first in the 8 limb system? Because when you are out of alignment with your values, that's when you can't still the mind, right? So the 8 limbs are a system for getting us to these very deep places of human experience, and we start with values. It makes so much sense. And if our cultures were more dedicated to values, we would be avoiding, we would be missing, but we would be able to overcome so many of the problems that are caused by greed and corruption. I mean, it's just like rampant and power, those things that are so rampant and rampantly and destructive in our culture, right? So yamas and niyamas start us on that path of getting the mind stiller. Then why asana? Because asana was developed not just to do party tricks, but to balance the neuroendocrine immune structures. I mean, that's what they were made for. When you balance the neuroendocrine immune structures, it's a somatic balancing or a bottom up balancing that helps the mind to be still. Then you can get even more nuanced by using pranayama, the breathing practices. And there are so many different breathing practices. And by the way, just because like a famous doctor says this is the best ratio or this is the way you breathe for optimal health, in my opinion, what that again is extracting from the system of yoga and saying like anybody with, who's breathed is an expert in it. No, it actually studying pranayama, learning to teach pranayama, it takes time, just like anything. If you want to be good at playing the cello, if you want to be, play a nice song on the cello or even be yo-yo ma on the cello, you have to practice and you have to study and teaching is another skill set. So, I'm a little bit on the soapbox here, but I see all this like breath work stuff out there, and it's so unfortunate because it's not contextualized within the system of yoga, which then actually helps give people the tools and the steps to reach this deeper levels of meditation and deeper ways of being human as well. Okay, so you have yamas and niyamas, then you have asana, balance the neuroendocrine system, and then you have pranayama, even more nuanced to get into the neuroendocrine immune system. And those are the 4 preparatory steps for the next 4 steps of meditation, which are the last 4 limbs of yoga. Pratyahara, which means withdrawing the senses and taking all that all that energy that's constantly going out, turning it within and being able to use that energy to train the mind in the next limb of yoga, which is dharana, which means concentration, mind training. This is the training practice, the 10,000 hours, the 40,000 hours that Richard Davidson required before he started scanning the brains of people who were adept meditators. By the way, research has also shown that even just 2 weeks of meditation starts to make changes in the brain. So can you imagine, like, if you meditate for 2 weeks and then you just keep going, even if you're doing 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, you keep going, what you're going to do to your brain, you're going to change your brain. You're going to become more human. You're going to learn to go deeper into these flows of love, which is the next limb of yoga. The 7th limb is dhyan, which is often translated as meditation, and I find that problematic because the whole system is meditation. Dhyan, a better translation for dhyan from my perspective, and I teach from a tantric yoga perspective, a better translation of dhyan is contemplation, connecting, communing with my higher self, whatever that form is for you. That contemplation is a practice. It's not just something that you just sort of get. It's you sit in it. You still the mind with yamas and niyamas, asana, pranayama, and then withdrawing the senses in so that you can feel that deep connection to what the Vaishnavites, the Krishna worshippers, called the rasas, these flows of love that are the primordial stuff that makes up the universe. And in fact, your whole body is made of love. You can think about it that way. It vibrates with the Shakti, with the pranic Shakti of love. And the difference between dhyan and samadhi, dhyan is contemplation, samadhi is really oneness. It's when you dissolve into those flows of love. That's the difference. So this is a really short little condensed version of my longer lectures on meditation. We're in the middle of them right now in the Subtle Yoga Resilience Society. You are welcome to jump in and join anytime. Check out, I'll put the link up so you can check it out. I want to thank you for being here. I'd love to hear what you have to think about meditation, what has been helpful for you. And if this might be a little different or a little new, A lot of times people say yoga and meditation, which is, again, a reflection of how we have reduced the system to separate components. So when we put it together, does it make sense to you? Is it as this system of deepening who you are as a human being, and certainly deepening your resilience, certainly deepening a sense of meaning and purpose in your life? I would love to hear your comments. Thank you so much for being here. See you next week. Lots of love.